What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Humongous video today. Huge video. It's Linkin Park's hybrid theory. We did a tier list. Tier lists are just fun. I just turn into a kid when there's a tier list. They're just fun. You can do it for anything. Best wooden penises. S tier, A tier, like it's a bottle opener. Okay, I need to get this away from the table because it's now becoming a prop that I use in every single video and it's a bit mental. But anyway, Linkin Park hybrid theory, huge album. Obviously, I've heard a lot of the singles, In the End, Crawling, all these big songs, but I've never actually sat down and listened to the full album. So I sat down for Patreon and listened to the full album. The musical portion of this video, of course, gets blocked, so I can't upload the full album reaction. If you want to see my reaction and all of my thoughts as the video goes, all of that's on Patreon. But for this video, I show you guys all of my thought processes as I'm trying to arrange the songs track by track in the album. I talk about my opinions of the album in general in this video, but obviously if you want to see my like raw reaction to the music, I can't upload it here. It's on Patreon. So links for Patreon are in the description. Also, last thing before we go, I want this to be as engaging as possible. So I want you guys to get involved. The tier list that I use, which I created, is in the description. So if you want to watch this video along with me and tier list the tracks yourself with the link that I'll provide in the description, you can arrange the songs in the order that you would have them. Then screenshot that, go to the other link in my description, which is my Discord. Go into the Discord and find the channel that says Linkin Park Hybrid Theory and post your screenshot in there so we can all judge you for being an idiot because your opinion's wrong, okay? There's been some horrendous shouts in there already. I've seen some people putting December in S tier. Like, it's just, what are we doing here? So if you want to get your opinion criticized or praised, you know, maybe you have a good take, then get to the Discord, screenshot your tier list so we can all laugh at you and we'll have a good time. But otherwise, lads, this is a fun video. Leave a like on it if you did enjoy. If you want to see more videos like this, then maybe subscribe. I'm off. Chat you in a bit. Cheers. Of course. Of course. Of course. Man, it's gonna be hard to not just put everything in S tier like straight away. Is it S? I think it might be like top of the A pile, but we can rearrange things as we go. But for now, I'm going to put Paper Cut in the high A's. It's like an A plus. So you're not going to be complaining about an A plus on your exams unless you're a fucking hyper nerd. How could you even complain? It's the highest result, but S like kind of transcends that a little bit, you know? Everything you say to me. Oh, do you know what? I lied. Need I say any more? Can we zoom this in a little bit? Yo, producer. That's me just talking to my producer now, actually. Just, hey, zoom us out one. Okay, this is cringe. But yeah, one step closer is S tier for me. It's I don't know where it falls in S tier, whether it'll be number one. We'll figure that out as we go. But for now, I barely even needed to hear like 2 seconds of that to figure out that it's S tier. And then I forgot the fucking shut up right down at the end as well. Just iconic. The turntables. This song, I have no idea if I've heard before. I would say right now that probably sits. I don't think it's an A. I don't think that's an A track. I think it's a B track. Not bad. The melody's decent. Again, I love the fucking chunky guitar riffs. And then there's a lot of contrasts throughout. There's like a really bubbly EDM feel to it. There's the turntables, which are always so present and give it that fucking like nostalgic new metal feel. There's the contrasts even within the guitars with the harmonics. So it just feels bubbly. It feels fun. It feels energetic. There's a good melody, but nothing like extremely memorable about the track from a musical standpoint. The only thing I think I'd take away from that is obviously the hindsight of the lyrics is, I think it's more of a coincidence that it's like Mike saying that like you're not here with me anymore and then Chester saying it's true. That's a bit haunting, and I'm sure there's so much of that littered throughout their discography that like people have been like picking up on for the last few years, obviously completely unknowing to the band at the time that they were going to be like writing these lyrics and them like having completely like new meanings down the line. But up next is Points of Authority, which I know the song very well from the Jay-Z feature. I listened to that like collaboration album so many times, but I haven't really ever listened to this version of it because I love the collaboration version so much. Hear me the fuck out, lads. Let me go big screen for this, okay? Just so people can see the emotion. Point of Authority. If this had Jay-Z on it, it's top of S tier. I don't know, maybe it's just because I think I heard the Jay-Z version first. I just think the Jay-Z version is one of the best songs ever made. Genuinely, when I think about how like songs that make me lose my fucking mind, it's the moments that it is. It's two polar opposite worlds, fucking new metal and just straight up rap and hip hop collabing. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more normalized these days because collabs are such a big thing, and like, you know, it feels maybe a little bit less organic these days because everyone's doing it for like business and like, you know, trying to get their, maybe that's obviously a part of why Linkin Park and Jay-Z collaborated. Of course, their brands are both going to be on the line, but something about it being this old feels a little bit more authentic. It feels more like a creative choice and just like we should make something together, as opposed to like how can we benefit both of our brands, where like Jay-Z gets, it just feels so authentic and it works so fucking well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, lads, go and listen to the fucking version with the whole album. That is it, Collision Course? I always fuck up the name of this. I should know because it's one of the just absolute goated albums. It's just so motherfucking good. Yes, it's actually on yeah, so this is just one of the best ever. It's only 21 minutes because it's only like a little small EP, but Jay-Z's flow on this, the fact that they just mix in everything like Points of Authority, 99 Problems, and One Step Closer. Oh my God, it is amazing. So, sidetracked here. That goes S tier if it's Jay-Z's version. Maybe it's just because my brain is programmed to think like, oh, this, I just feel like I've heard Jay-Z's version so much and I love that so much that I kind of want that to be a thing. Like I want Jay-Z to come in here and it just feels like the flow for Jay-Z just worked so well on it. So for that reason, it doesn't go S tier. However, Points of Authority would be A tier, S plus the top tier if it was the Jay-Z version. That might be controversial. I don't know. I think the guitars alone make that go A. However, I think Points of Authority just edges out on paper cut just because of how fucking iconic those guitars are. That rhythm is just monstrous. So, speaking of monstrous, I was going to make a penis joke. I'm not going to do it. Inappropriate timing. Crawling is up next. I know you're probably like, Drew, stop miming the song. It's so cringe. I've had that comment before. First of all, no. Second of all, I'm actually screaming that at the top of my lungs, but I have my microphone muted because I'm not going to do that to you. So I'm not going to ruin the song that much. I know I will sing over it occasionally, but when I want to really let it go, mic gets muted and I just belled it out. Oh, Crawling just has more emotional value. It really does. One Step Closer. I don't know what's more iconic, man. This is where we get the real problem here because this could be in any order here. Oh, that's so tough. I can't. I refuse to take part in this. Okay? I refuse to take part in my own video. We'll come back to it and we'll see if we need to make any amendments at the end, but Runaway. I don't know if I've heard this. That one is probably in the same ballpark as my opinions on With You. I think it's much the same. I don't think it quite makes A, which is weird because it's like this band either makes like the best songs of all time or kind of tracks that I'm just a little bit indifferent to. So if I'm being fully honest, Runaway, I would say probably goes after With You. To be honest, they're both kind of not that memorable to me so far. So we've got 2 in each. That looks quite nice. You know, take everything out of the equation, like everything I know about Linkin Park and all of the history and like how iconic they are, and obviously everything that happened, you know, with Chester and the last 7 years, and now that they're going back, you know, they're coming back and all of the drama and shit. If I just listen to that song, granted it came out in 2000, so it's 24 years old or whatever it is. It was probably written more than 24 years ago, which is mental. This album came out in 2000. It's 24 years ago. That's insanity. Am I right about that? Is it 24? That's 24 years old. Jesus Christ. So this is written more than 25 years ago, I'd imagine, or at least 24 plus years ago. If you look at it that way, yeah, 24 years ago, it still sounds pretty impressive. Like it's got a lot of the fun, like twists that a lot of modern metal has nowadays, like that bands are trying to recreate now. Just absolute pioneers of certain sounds. But it just as a song still doesn't do much for me. It's not bad. I'd say it's B tier. Let's not dwell on it too much longer. Let's go. By Myself. Fucking hell, that was aggressive. See, there's certain parts of each song that I like, but the songs themselves aren't the most memorable. Like, loved the subtle details of the like droney atmosphere that they had that comes back in certain sections. When you hear Chester in certain parts, it's almost jarring because he's got such a unique style. But again, that's like, it's that imperfection that actually makes him so much more unique. And again, it's why when you talk of the likes of the different vocalists that were mentioned before, you know, Emily Armstrong was announced, and even the vocalists that I've mentioned that may have been like better replacements instead of, you know, Emily Armstrong, like Andy Cizek from Monuments and Termina and all these different bands. Who else was mentioned? There was a few other vocalists mentioned, but like Andy Cizek, I feel like would be on paper a like traditionally better vocalist than Chester Bennington. Like his range is outrageous. He can do the screams, he can do the lows. He's got just a stupid voice. And I think he would like on paper, from a technical standpoint, wipe the floor with Chester's ability. Take this with a pinch of salt. I know this seems somewhat disrespectful, but I think just looking at it objectively, he's probably a more well-rounded vocalist than Chester. But the thing is, it's those little small imperfections that I think make Chester so iconic, and why it's so hard to replace something like that. It's almost like, this is a weird analogy, but I think it kind of makes sense. I've just thought about it there. But like, for example, if I'm boxing or like sparring someone, okay, so I do boxing outside of this shit, and I have done for years, just different martial arts. It's like if you spar someone that knows what they're doing, if you box someone and they have an idea how to defend themselves, they like use traditionally accepted methods to like slip punches and, you know, throw punches, you get used to that style because like that's by the books the way to do it. But when you like have a newcomer come in and they're actually technically doing everything wrong, like everything they're doing is wrong, that can sometimes be a little bit harder to actually mimic and work with, even though they're on paper worse than the boxer that's been doing it for years, because the movements that you get from someone who knows what they're doing become a little bit more predictable. So when someone who's actually shit, that like won't actually cause you any problems, on paper come in, you're like so programmed to do a certain way. So I guess the analogy I'm trying to make there is that like trying to actually mimic something that's imperfect, which is Chester, is actually almost harder because there's not like a guide on how to be imperfect, if that makes sense. So I guess the boxing analogy is like, it can be sometimes harder to box someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You could probably bring in some of the best vocalists in the world that are on paper better than Chester, but his style is just so like broken in a way. It's so imperfect in certain parts, like it's jarring in some parts, but it gives it more of a raw emotion in some of his performances. And this is a great example. His voice is like all over the place. His melodies sound a little bit weird, but it's just so him. He's a one of one, man. It's like impossible to actually replace. And that's why I had some like choice thoughts on the replacement of him and like, should they have gone in a new direction? Because like, yeah, I get it. Like Emily's new song with Linkin Park, I think is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they can go with that. But the thing that stands weird to me is like Emily doing the performances of Linkin Park. Now I don't care about it enough to like go and try cancel her over it, but I just think like the whole idea of seeing her live and performing the Chester songs is like, yeah, she can do a good job of it, but to me that's just like, it's just impossible to replicate. You know what I mean? It's like almost impossible to replicate because it's trying to replicate imperfections and also perfections in certain areas. So yeah, weird analogy, but a great fucking song to pick it up on and shut me the fuck up. We got In the End, which of course, come on, one of the most iconic songs ever fucking made. I forgot to put By Myself in. Okay, we're gonna do the last two songs. I completely forgot to do the tier list there. Whew. Yeah, I almost got a bit choked up there. I think it's kind of hard to not put In the End there, isn't it? Oh, but I think Crawling, this is gonna be really tough, especially when more of these get added in. Well, I can pretty safely say that like I don't really recognize a lot of these names. So for the most part, I think this is all kind of like first reactions, if not like second reactions. It's definitely first reaction because I've never sat down and reacted to it before, but whether or not I've heard the songs before, I don't fucking know. But anyway, let's keep going. A Place for My Head. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. This will probably happen a lot as well. I'm like, I don't know if I know this song, and then the fucking lead work comes in, or the rhythm, or the melody, whatever it might be. However, I think it's getting hard now, man, because I don't think it's S tier. Is it B or A? Oh, fuck. And I think that another point I want to bring up before we actually rate this is that I think this was a big conversation. Like, obviously, since I posted my reaction to the new announcement of the singer and all that stuff, I've seen my comment section has just been absolutely bombarded with fucking AIDS, man. It's just people, you know, 50-50 being like, this is a great step for Linkin Park. This is the worst thing that they've ever done. They've ruined the reputation of the band, blah, 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 blah. And a sub point that has been brought up within that is, like, why are people upset with, you know, Chester being replaced when bands replace members all the time? And Chester wasn't even originally a part of Linkin Park, so like, why do people even care? Because he's like technically not like a founding member of the band. He came in like 3 years later and replaced the vocalist prior to him. But to be honest, I don't even know what the vocalist to him who was prior to him's name even is. No disrespect, I'm just not that deep of a fan with Linkin Park that I know all of the backstory and stuff. But I guess the point from all of that is Chester is such a fucking big part of this band. You know, I can't personally name one single song by Linkin Park that I know of that doesn't have Chester on it. So the argument that, like, you know, why are people upset? Like, people change members all the time. Chester is such an iconic part of Linkin Park, and just reading some of the lyrics, and I guess it's the same as like One Step Closer, and I'm sure many other songs with Linkin Park, but if we just pull up the lyrics for a sec, like, a lot of these, like, choruses and bridge sections feature like Chester just absolutely like his soul is just being dragged out of him almost with some of his lines. Like, you try take the best of me, go away, and it's just being screamed. All of the emotion like floods out in certain parts of tracks. It's like in One Step Closer with the, you know, like it's the fucking culmination of all the lyrics that have come prior to that, and you know, all of the other tracks on the album that just burst out into these moments of like pure rage and like emotion. And I think with the content of the lyrics, like, you take the best of me, go away, it's obviously like Chester really digging deep in himself, and I guess being very relatable, and almost like being that voice for people that maybe are in a similar position to him. And I think that, although Mike Shinoda obviously like tees up certain sections, like, you know, he's saying, I'm so sick of the tension, sick of the hunger, sick of you acting like I own this shit. I feel like Chester's the one that kind of delivers the raw emotion in the, you know, Mike Shinoda kind of plays that secondary role where Chester like really punches home a lot of the emotional like problems and shit that he's going through, and like the relatable like social issues that maybe he's facing with, whether it be like people like being an outcast or whatever. So I think that's why it's so different to say like, oh well, they're just replacing a drummer, or they're replacing just like Chester being replaced, and any frontman I think is a bigger deal in general because they're the frontman for a reason. But Chester in particular, like, he's delivering these massive emotional lines, and people are really resonating with these moments in songs. Like this, for example, is just so iconic. Like Chester's the one, he's the voice of this moment, and people who are going through something similar to him are going to really resonate with that. And it's Chester that's giving them that connection. I think it's going to be the end of A for the moment. Maybe the first one in B. Oh, I don't know if it's an A. I'll leave it there for the moment, okay? I'll leave it there for the moment, and we'll come back to it towards the end just to make sure I'm happy with my list, but let's keep going. If I'm being fair to myself, and I'm being completely honest, I think Forgotten is top of B for me. Just from the top to the bottom. That part is so fucking good. I love that. That really resonates with me. Some of the melodies, and this is where I talk about like the imperfections in Chester's voice in some parts, it just sounds a little bit off key for me, but I guess, again, that's part of the whole character of his voice, and it's just... it's iconic. But if I'm just being completely objective and not thinking about like how important Chester is as an artist and how iconic he is, and I just listen to it as a song, do I like this song that much? It's not bad. I do like the intro to the song. I love the chunky guitar riffs. It's just not my favorite. I mean, these S tier 100%, these A tier for certain. Apart from maybe this, we don't know. Maybe this goes... oh, you see, I don't know now. Does this go above this? Oh, we'll have to come back. I might have to switch these two around. I'll have to listen to them again just very quickly just to see. But this is the fun of all this, man. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. But this is Cure for the Itch. Again, don't recognize the name. I mean, how do we even go about rating that? Fuck it. We'll go like... we'll just put it there. It's an interlude. It's just, it kind of ignore this one, I guess. Okay, interesting, because taking that as an actual album outro, I'd say that's a pretty weak album outro. I get, obviously, the lyrical content is a big part of Linkin Park as well, especially since Chester passed away. Obviously, the lyrics hit a lot harder because there's a lot of like what's the word I'm looking for? Where someone like almost predicts their outcome, or their like fate. There's a word for that. You know what I'm trying to say. So obviously in hindsight, you look back in these lyrics and you're like, wow, like Chester was almost explaining certain things that were going to happen down the line. And it was like very like written out in all of his lyrics, how mentally unstable he was and all the shit he was going through. I don't know if mentally unstable sounds, is that wrong? If it is, I apologize. You know what I'm trying to say there. But as an album outro, if again, I'm being completely honest, I don't know if I love that song. It's not bad. Again, the melodies, and if I just take myself out of the idea that like Chester's like such an iconic vocalist, and I just listen to it, again, granted, there's so many like variables here. It's like it came out in 2000. It's iconic for its time. There's a nostalgic feel to it. Chester's passed away. There's an emotional connection to it. If I'm being honest, Pushing Me Away is just another... I actually would say that's probably C tier. I think that's my... Now I'm thinking that maybe I was being a little bit too nice with some of these tracks. I think maybe some of these would probably go C. I don't know. Maybe here. I feel like they don't really have any C tier tracks though, do they? I'd say this is down here. See, I'm kind of like, I can't really even differentiate between a lot of these. A lot of these kind of just have all run into one. I don't really remember a lot of them. Yeah. Okay, My December. I don't know what the story is with this, when it was re-released. You guys can let me know on Discord maybe, or just respond to the Patreon video, or let me know on the YouTube comment section. So this came out when? After? This is like the bonus material, I believe, from the album. Being completely objective, I gotta say this goes D. I didn't fuck with that track at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and prematurely give this a C. It's a hip-hop song, you know? It's not what I'm really here for. So, I mean, that's a snapshot of my feelings on the album. So, I guess from my first full listen through that I'm aware of. Like, I mean, there could have been a moment in time when I was fucking like 12 or some shit that I maybe listened to this album. I don't fucking know. So I'm not going to say for absolute certainty that this is like my first time reacting, but I did expect there to be a lot more like A's and S's, to be honest. I get that this album is definitely iconic purely based on the amount of massive singles that are in there. But as an album, I'm actually a little bit surprised by how much I enjoyed it as a full body of work. I just think there's some songs in there that are a little bit meh to me. Like, I mean, I get, look, High Voltage and My December. Let's just eliminate them. So we're looking at basically delete C and D here for the moment and just look at here. Maybe I was a little bit, you know, easy on some of these. Maybe this could go here. Maybe this could go down here. Maybe one or two other tracks could get, you know, moved around and put down into C tier. But the main thing for me is that in the end doesn't require any introduction. It doesn't require me to elaborate on why this is amazing. Like, it's just such an iconic song. I think I'm going to keep that there just because, like I mentioned, the whole like pop culture appeal this has and like how accessible it has been and it still is and always will be to the masses. I think even if you don't like metal music, if you don't like new metal, if you don't like distorted guitars in any capacity, if you don't like screaming, this song still appeals to you. It's just so iconic and it's just amazing. So I think this song just has to be number one. Crawling, I think it's just as good as a song, but I think just on the points that I just made about In the End, I don't think this has the same appeal on a global scale. Not that that's what like music is about. It's like, oh, the song that has the most global appeal is the best song. No, of course, that's not what I'm saying. But I just think because of how good In the End is, as is Crawling, but the thing that edges this above, because it's literally, we're talking fractions here, lads, of like why this song is better than this song for me. Just the global impact this song has had, and like the fact that you can listen to it in like any mood. You can listen to this in a club where it's like a really like fun environment and everyone's singing along to it and not like taking the lyrics too seriously. And then you can like have a real deep, depressing moment with yourself to listen to this song. You can look at it in so many different lenses and it just hits every single time. So In the End for me is number one. Crawling, I think just because of how emotional that song is and like how haunting it is, it's just kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. It's so depressing and eerie. I don't really want to give the album a rating. I've kind of strayed away from giving like set in stone ratings on albums because it's the first listen. It's very hard to like cement my opinion of an album because my opinions change so much. So I'd say my takeaway is that very happy that I finally listened to that. I think you'll be hard pressed to find an album on earth that has as many iconic songs, iconic singles in one album. Like In the End, Crawling, One Step Closer, Points of Authority, Papercut, you could throw that in there. They are like, it's 5 or 6 like all-timer tracks, like just incredible songs. But as an album, there's a lot of like filler for me. I don't know if I love the album. I think filler might be harsh to say. Filler's probably not the right word. I think they're all iconic, but I think if we take away the emotional connection that a lot of people have to Chester, and if I take away that part of me and I just look at it completely objective as the music and also the fact that it came out 24 years ago, I'm cutting it some slack. But just for me right now, the way it listens right now, I think my order stands the way we're looking at it right now. Again, all my opinions, take that with a pinch of salt, lads. Appreciate you watching as always. If you have any other ideas which might spice up the Patreon videos and the album reviews, I think this is a really good way of doing it. I think this makes it a lot more engaging than it can be, you know, because if I just sit here and give my opinions, it doesn't really give you guys an opportunity to get involved. So what I might start doing is just including this in the Discord so everyone can get involved in Discord, and then obviously, you know, people on Patreon can join the Discord. It'll be a lot of fun. So guys, appreciate you all. Almost the perfect video with no stutters. We're on the last second of the video. Appreciate you lot as always for watching the video. If you've been on Patreon for a while, much fucking love, much appreciated. If you've just joined the Patreon for this video, stick around. We've got fucking hundreds of album reviews, and obviously we're going to do our best to try and recreate other scenarios where I have videos like this. We'll probably do more Linkin Park albums. We'll obviously do the new Linkin Park album when it comes out, which is going to be fun. So stick around on Patreon, lads. Join the Discord. That's it. Love yous, appreciate yous. We'll chat soon. Goodbye.